So it turns out that Warner Brothers is looking to continue the glorious American tradition of the minstrel show, and they've tagged apparent house slave Ta-Nehisi Coates of Red Skull Jordan Peterson fame to pen the screenplay for a dark-skinned reimagining of Clark Kent's Superman, and to convince everyone that his virtue-signaling involvement somehow makes this more than blackface tokenism. I can almost picture it already. If you don't like black Superman,
and you ain't black.
Now look, Superman is far from my favorite character. He was always too much of a bit of a straight-laced goody two-shoes for me, but this whole palaver is hard for me to ignore simply based on the level of stupid exhibited by Warner Brothers and the fanboys who think this is the coolest thing ever. First things first, how insanely small-minded is it that it matters this much what the skin color is of a character who is from a completely different species, right? Kal-El is not even human, he's a freaking alien. If you want to make a social justice themed flick about him, how about focusing on his status as an illegal immigrant? You could give Lex Luthor a bad toupee, put him in charge of some specialized deportation space force, and be as clumsily heavy-handed as you want while still staying somewhat true to the established character. But no. There's somehow a contingent of people who think that Superman will be improved by just changing the color of his skin. I'm sorry, but if you think that Black Clark Kent is an awesome idea, then by default you're probably a bigot who sees way too much importance in skin color, and, as they say, you need to check your privilege. Now you could counter by pointing out that if his skin color doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter if he's black, and that would be true if he had originally been envisioned and inked in that color, but he wasn't. And in the years since he was created, the image of Superman has become an iconic and instantly recognizable one. Much like the Hulk, even though that character was originally meant to be grey, he's been established such that if grey were now introduced as his standard color, the world would burn. And the thing is, not only has Henry Cavill already been established as Superman, but Henry Cavill looks like Superman. Even getting another white guy to fill those red boots would be a disappointment. Henry Cavill is Superman. He's the first guy who can really say that since Christopher Reeves. You make the character black and you instantly make him not Superman. Same as if you made the Martian Manhunter purple or the Hulk pink. He may be wearing the S, but he'll forever be an imposter and knockoff. And if companies like Warner Brothers aren't careful, they'll cultivate the optics of black characters as being cheap imitations and diversity hires, sabotaging their own ostensible efforts at inclusivity. And that brings me to my second point. What's wrong with actual black characters? It's not like they don't exist. And don't tell me that there aren't enough recognizable black comic book characters, as though that's an excuse for anything. For close to half a century, no one knew who the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy were, and then the MCU made them some of the most popular comic book characters on Earth. And the most popular characters in that franchise are a raccoon and a tree. And when Blade first came out, people didn't even know what they were watching. They didn't know they were seeing a comic book adaptation. That's how unknown the character was at the time. The franchise still became incredibly popular. DC has a ton of black characters to draw from, with a ton of interesting stories. I remember the Milestone DC subdivision from when I was a kid, and they had their own black Superman. He was an original character named Icon with his own backstory, his own sidekick, and his own motivations. If Warner Brothers had given him his own movie, then not only would they not have had to blackwash Superman, but they could have used Icon as a vehicle to build the connections to the other characters that were under the Milestone label. I know that I'd have loved a high-budget Blood Syndicate movie, for example. And if Blood Syndicate wasn't designed as a vehicle for social critique, then I don't know what was. But instead of that, Warner Brothers and Ta-Nehisi Coates have decided to only validate traditionally white characters, to paint them black, and then ignore the genuine richness of diversity that comes with the DC intellectual property. And thirdly, the most popular comics today are manga. So while Warner Brothers jumps onto the idiot diversity train and rolls out their insulting little minstrel show led by a black hack hoping his skin color makes up for his lack of talent, most of the comic book reading world is following homogeneously Japanese characters whose stories are well written and interesting. And I suspect that Black Superman will fail to appeal to anywhere near as wide an audience, black, white, or anything else, as did good old Japanese Jesus.
Ka me ha
And then finally, look, I'm not a black guy, so I'm not really in a position to judge. But I feel like if I were a black guy, I would find it incredibly insulting to have a massive production studio with the resources of Warner Brothers tell me that they're not able to market a black character unless he was born white. Right? It sort of reminds me of the transgenders in sports discussion, the message there being that you can succeed at anything you put your mind to as long as you were born with a penis. It's ludicrous and it's degrading to pretty much everyone involved. The deconstruction of classic characters is getting to be a bit tiring. Idiot ideologues ruined Luke, Han, and Leia already, not to mention forever upsetting the continuity of their universe. They threatened the MCU's big Phase 2 finale with an overpowered plank of wood. Star Trek's been ruined by Muppet-minded halfwits. Even Voyager looks good compared to what's been floating around for the last decade or so. Mad Max became a sidekick in his own over-the-top remake, and 2016's Ghostbusters should not have been allowed to exist. Stop tearing down icons, just because you're not creative or hardworking enough to build any of your own. Superman is Superman is Superman. I may not like the character much, but he is iconic. He is woven into America's and by extension the world's cultural consciousness. He is a part of the zeitgeist. If you think his time has come and gone, then leave him alone and create someone new. It was already a problem watching him knock down a city and murder his enemy in Man of Steel, in total contravention of the values we know the character to hold. Making him black and forcing him into situations where that matters is just an excuse to further deconstruct him. Again, for no justifiable reason. Anyway, guys, those are my 2 cents on the issue. I hope I gave you some food for thought. If you made it this far, thank you very much for your time. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you later. Cheers.